Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Atlanta FaZe have gone into every single tournament this season as the favourites, and that will still be true for the World Championship. But of those 4 tournaments, they've again only converted one of those victories. A couple of grand finals have not gone their way already this season. Therefore, big questions raised. Why is this the case? Is it somewhat embarrassing from their side that they can't keep converting these grand finals? And what needs to change if they want to turn things around? Is another roster change on the horizon for FaZe if they can't convert this World Championship to try and get Simp and aBeZy to 3 championship rings? Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new, as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. One man that does know how to win, of course, is Crimsix, and still maybe he's not even part of FaZe anymore because he's not FaZe Crimsix anymore. So maybe that makes sense as to why things have parted ways there. Just a couple of quick words actually on the future of the competitive COD scene, because there's always talk about this, and there has been every few years. Do we have a good pipeline of upcoming players? What does that look like over the coming years? Because if you look at the last several years of COD, even back to like Black Ops 3, but let's just start from when like Simp came into the league back in Black Ops 4, and even like let's say World War 2, you had Kenny come in. 2020 season, you had a number of players. Shotzzy, for example, was the MVP of that season. Illy, among many others. 2021, Insight and Standy were the 2 contenders for Rookie of the Year, but actually HyDra also came in that season. 2022, you had Pred come in. 2023, of course, we had Scrappy come into the league, and then this year, in terms of rookies, sure, we've got SLAMS, we've got aBeZy, we've got Gwyn, for example, who are good players, and one of those will probably win Rookie of the Year, but, no one there that's really setting the world on fire. So there's been questions as to whether this is kind of like about time that we had a year where we didn't really have that like crazy hyped up talent pipeline coming through. But also there's been a question as to whether that's kind of dying out a little bit, right? Because the way that Warzone is nowadays, if you're an up and coming Call of Duty player, the search and destroy scene does not exist in the way that it previously did. So are you going to grind CODs to try and get it to the CDL, or are you going to play Warzone, or are you just going to go and play like Apex or something else? So there is a bit of a concern to me that the future generation of top COD players and upcoming superstars in the CDL, not really sure if the pipeline is as strong as it previously was when the search and destroy scene was booming several years ago. There is still some optimism though. I know that Zoom and Octane were talking about this. Some other guys on the FaZe Back Academy team, guys like I think Encourage and others, who have been looking really strong, and I think the positive is that there will be some talented players out there that will be coming up over the coming years, and just because of the nature of the scene, they'll often have at least something of a personality. So, I think I was concerned a couple of years back when Crim was about to retire. Clay is still going now, but, who knows if he's going to compete next year. Scump, of course, has now gone. Karma's retired, Octane's retired. All these guys have stepped out of the league. Zuma, of course, was retiring during the 2021 season, right? When, thumb injury, all that type of stuff. But as soon as that happens, we got guys like Scrappy, we got guys like Drazah coming into the league to shake things up, and same for Pred, for example, on the OpTic guys. So I still think there's a future out there, but maybe there's not so much reason to be concerned. Speaking of Zuma and Scump, actually, these were, for the 2024 regular season, the overall viewership numbers. So total hours watched, down from last year, peak viewers down from last year, which is no real surprise given that it's on YouTube exclusively. This year, last year, it was on Twitch and YouTube, which was, I think the way to go if you want to basically maximize the viewership. But at the end of the day, the YouTube deal does bring in some revenue, and it does allow some of these teams to effectively, I'm pretty sure Vegas can pay their entire team's salaries just from the YouTube deal. Maybe even it covers a bit more than that. Now, I know they're paying the minimums, but that's kind of the level here, that the teams are getting a good couple of 100,000 each, I think, from the YouTube deal, and it's allowing them to pay lots of their expenses. So, like, if you're looking at that from like a sports level, what the kind of media rights deals are in regular sports, that's peanuts. But for some of these teams, what they're actually paying, especially the poverty orgs, like, they're loving life, right? Like, they're able to kind of fund their entire operation for doing basically nothing. So, that's why the organizations are generally in favor of doing this, even if it's not necessarily for the best of the scene. And every time I mention about the whole Twitch YouTube thing, I agree with you guys that most of you believe YouTube is a better watching experience. Like, the player is better. Like, I want to watch on YouTube, but I also want it to be possible to watch on Twitch because the community is generally better. The discovery is certainly better for big events on that platform, and the numbers absolutely speak for themselves on that. So, look, the numbers are down. Still, though, I mean, it's not a bad season overall if you look at it. The airtime is basically the same. The average viewership is slightly down, and actually, Scump does not have the most viewers on average on the season. season, certainly by hours watched, that is, it's quite similar really between the COD League main channel and Scump, and then Zuma, and then like the Call of Duty co-stream, and then other co-streams and stuff like this. So yeah, pretty interesting. I guess for the CDL, they've always got to consider if Scump says, hey, like, I don't want to do this anymore or something, like, what does the CDL do? It's the same problem in some sense that I think Valorant has with Tariq. He's the #1 co-streamer by a mile. The issue I think for Valorant is more so that, like, I don't think the commentators are as good as in COD. The production, even because it's Riot Games, I don't think is sometimes as good. So if Tariq was to disappear, I actually think like the production quality of the main broadcast isn't very good feel to keep around. Whereas in COD, I think it probably is. But nonetheless, Scump has some leverage, that's all I'll say, because he is such an important driver of this. And obviously Scump's making good money by co-streaming it and all the revenue that they generate from the stream, but not as much as he would be making if he was still on Twitch. And that, of course, was a debate this season, and we'll see what the future holds for that. There's a bit of drama going down last night as well on the CDL Hater Central accounts. Now, I didn't see exactly the tweet that he initially put out. I think there was some tweet that he put out here that was causing a bit of controversy, and then he did put out this one in reply to Jada Rossi talking about Shah Madrid and all this. But anyway, as Jake Hell says, do people really even care about who runs that weird CDL Hater account? I can't even see people beefing about it on the timeline. So what do you guys think about this account? Because I think this account's pretty hilarious. Obviously, I'm kind of biased because I, like it's entertaining, right? But, we get stuff like this, where if a player plays bad, if you guys haven't seen this Twitter account, then I'll be somewhat surprised if you haven't seen at least one of the tweets, because if a player plays bad or if he has a bad overall card, he's going to get cooked. That's how this account works. And these exist in other sports and esports as well. Like, it's not exclusive to COD, but it's very, like, I mean, this is outrageous. It's very much along the lines of what you'd expect kind of from the COD scene, The trash talk is there. And I'm sure the players aren't happy about this, but I almost think it's like an inevitability, right? Like, this is the way I always look at it, right? What do we want this scene to be like? Do we want the scene to grow? Do we want the scene to die? Do we want the scene to collapse? Like, what's the plan? Because if you want the scene to grow and develop and to improve and more eyeballs on the scene and all this type of stuff, you are going to get stuff like this. It's just how it is. Like, these accounts are going to exist. They're going to talk trash on the players, and it's an absolute inevitability. I mean, this one's pretty good as well. So, always a good time scrolling through that stuff. I don't really know whether the drama on that is going to continue or to go away or anything, but let's talk about this FaZe team, right? Because this season, we thought with Drazah might be the season to go to the next level. And I talked about this, the fact that I think this FaZe team, playing at their peak level, may be better than Cold War FaZe. I definitely think there's an argument to be made there, like in terms of the amount of sweeps they've done this season, in terms of how dominant they look in the majority of matches they play. Like, you gotta think that FaZe are right up there. To me, Cold War FaZe were really good with RCs. Obviously they were, but if you look at some of the teams they played against, the Toronto team that season with, Bance and Cammy and CleanX and Insights, they were good and they could be competitive. They're actually really good, but they weren't like, a real top CDL team when you look back at it in history. I think the same is true for that year's Dallas Empire team that were competitive, but it was a bit of a mishmash of teams. They lost Clay, they had some roster drama, Hook was gone, Vivid came in alongside Shotzzy, Illy and Crim. Like, they were good. And OpTic Chicago that year, Formal was checked out, Dashy Formal combo wasn't working, Scump was kind of, not feeling it as much anymore. All the online stuff was kind of getting to them. So, I think looking back at that season, FaZe, they won 4 of the 6 events, very impressive. But in terms of the level of COD they were playing, I think they certainly were very close, if not surpassing or equaling that this year with their current Atlanta FaZe iteration. I think Drazah's been really good as well for this team. Like, we saw the numbers earlier today for FaZe. Like, Drazah's just been, okay, his search and destroy this stage wasn't as good as maybe you'd usually expect, but he's been excellent this season for FaZe. Certainly the last couple of stages, arguably been up there as one of their best players. So, it's not like anyone's individually underperforming, and most series they play, they're still just absolutely cooking the opposition. Like, we're seeing dominant 3-0 victories, so many sweeps we've seen this season from FaZe, but yet they still get to the grand finals, and they still end up in second place. So, what is that about? Because they've played, again, 4 tournaments this season, and you'd have thought that going in as favourites to every one, they should have won at least, especially after they won Major 2 in Miami. I thought they were going to win probably 2 of the last 3 events. They've won 0 of the next 2, and maybe they win champs, but there's clearly an issue when it comes down to the grand final. So I just wanted to share what Octane had to say on this, saying that it's pretty embarrassing, frankly, that for a team like FaZe, their finals record is so poor.
Bro, I think it's simple, bro. They're just scared. They're just scared to lose, and you don't have that feeling until you're in the grand final. That's why they look absolutely final in every round of the tournament up until grand finals. They're just afraid to lose, and They when they're in the grand finals, that just breaks them.
I think they're worried.
You don't go 2-9 without a mental aspect to it, bro.
Yeah, bro, you're 2-9 the last 11 grand finals. You have more grand finals than any team in the CDL.
They're 2-9.
No. 2-9. Bro, it's inexcusable. Genuinely, they're 2-9 in grand finals since Vanguard with the most talented trio potentially ever. Like, it's inexcusable, bro. I'm not gonna sit here and say any type of cope for them. That shit's embarrassing. Period.
They gotta handle the pressure better. I think that was the word you're looking for, Chris. It wasn't complacency, but like they just gotta handle the pressure of like closing out these tournaments better.
Yeah, they don't really have a benchmark they're looking for whenever they're like practicing at home or playing. It's like they are their benchmark, and so like every other team just
I'm about to start screaming on dial-up if I'm them. Like, yo, we screaming on dial-up.
That's why I'm saying like they need to start playing at a disadvantage. Like I don't know how to explain it. They have to start playing with ankle weights on if they want to get better.
That's not their problem, bro. They don't need to get better. This team is final in every single round of every single tournament except the grand finals. They don't need to get better at anything. It's not like they just suck all this. They literally just break in the grand finals. They are the best team every tournament except for in the grand finals.
I did want
One of the things I wanted to address here, though, was the idea that they aren't so good at dealing with adversity. This has kind of been the theory. Slasher was making the point the other day, because obviously he was on the team last season, that they just win all their scrims, and therefore he wants to, when he practices, try and play at something of a disadvantage, just so that you actually have some sort of fight against something at some point, like either play on a ping disadvantage or something, just so they're not winning all the time. Because when easyMac was an analyst for FaZe, he used to track their scrum stats, and they would not be losing scrim series in months. Like, they would go on periods where they would go like 120 map wins to like 10 map losses in practice against top CDL teams. Like, that's how dominant FaZe have been and continue to be in their practice. Like, that was the case in Vanguard. They didn't win a finals. They were still dominating, like, every single scrim. So, the debate is on adversity, whether they struggle with it when they get to, you know, because they don't lose. All of a sudden, when they're against a top team, they're like, oh my god, like, I can't believe we're playing a good team playing well. Like, we're going to get crushed or something. But I don't know if that really stacks up, just because if you look at their record here, this is, as TJ Halley's dad pen puts together, their record of reaching grand finals from winners. So FaZe have done that the majority of times, but reaching grand finals from losers is actually not happening as often. So the theory, because people have said, okay, if you put FaZe to the losers brackets, maybe they'll actually win, right? Because they'll have, you know, be back against the wall every time. But the record doesn't actually indicate that. When FaZe have gone down to losers finals from winners, they actually still don't win the finals. Like, even if FaZe are forced to make a losers run, they'll still make finals and lose, like, generally. So that's why the question is still there on exactly what's going wrong for FaZe in the finals. Is it comms? Is it, you know, the Sunday yips or whatever? We'll see, because again, they're going to be favourites for champs. Like, they are literally going in as the betting favourites for the World Championship again, even though Subliners are right there on their heels, as it were. But Simp and aBeZy, this is crazy stuff, by the way. The only two world champions from pre-CDL titles. So anyone that won a world championship 2019 and before, none of those guys are in the league anymore, apart from Simp and aBeZy. So we'll see if they can get their third, because if they do, that would be incredible. But their finals record will still take something away from the way their career has gone. Just one final thing to mention here real quick. If you guys are familiar with the COD Muse accounts that we have on the Breaking Point side, stuff like this from FaZe COD Muse, the guys that put this together, effectively like running a load of stats and, you know, just running a fan page effectively for the team. If you guys were looking for people to run the Thieves, the Rocker, the Gorillas, and the Surge one, I think we got a lot of interest already in the Thieves, the Rocker, and the Surge one, but there's not apparently many Los Angeles Gorillas super fans out there that are interested to run this page. So if you happen to be called Parasite, or if you're like, if you really like Los Angeles Gorillas for whatever reason, and God bless you if you do, then yeah, reach out and we might have something interesting for you. But very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.